everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the second panel discussion of the Hospitality Support Forum. We're thrilled that we have again another group of great panelists on this call, who I'm going to introduce in a short while. So the topic we chose for today evolves around purpose, something that you have heard a lot and companies are using, people are referring to, and we wanted to explore a bit in more detail on what this is and why it can be of value. If you go online and read what purpose is, you will obviously find a variety of definitions. Purpose as a reason for being, or why something exists, but also maybe a person's sense or determination. And we have, again, a great group of panelists, some that you already know. And to start with, I'd like to greet everyone on this panel. So again, we have Michael Butler.
Hi everybody, pleased to meet you all, and thanks Catherine and Gisela and everybody else for this opportunity, so thank you.
Alexander Melle.
Hi, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, and Renee Vasilier.
Hello everybody.
Martin Jones.
Hi guys, here's to a fantastic new year.
Good. Alison Stiles.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be back participating in the forum once again. Thank you.
Thank you. And new in this round, and we're thrilled to have her with us, is Gisela Ciancio. Gisela Ciancio is actually a specialist on purpose, and it's always good to speak to specialists nowadays. Gisela has actually been working with companies and supporting them to become purpose-driven. Hi, Gisela.
Hi everyone, and a pleasure to be here today. Thanks for letting me be part of this forum.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great to have you. And because you're the specialist, you get to answer the first question. Again, I just mentioned that there's a lot of definitions and explanations out there what purpose actually is. But I'd like to really ask you, what in your mind and with your experience, what is purpose?
Thank you, Catherine and Rhys. This is a really good question. And what you mentioned is true. You know, we can go do some research and we'll find tons and tons of definitions. And sometimes we might get caught in a definition of what purpose is. And then you want to say, oh my God, I want to fulfill my purpose in life. And, you know, you get trapped in a definition. I obviously like more of the definition on a Japanese word, which is called ikigai, which is the reason of being, but not only the reason of being, which is most likely any definition that we can find in any dictionary, but it's the sense that they have. It is what really makes you move from your bed every morning, what really, you know, energizes you, what really, you know, make you open your eyes and jump from the bed and say, okay, what do I have to do today? What do I need to focus on? What do I really, I'm here to do? So when I personally talk about purpose, I'm not very fussy on a definition, but I'm more on where your natural interest is. You know, where is your natural interest? What really captures your attention? What really, where do you decide to spend your time? You know, and it's not about hours of work, or it's not about necessarily a task or a skill that you had acquired with time, but it's what really is in your heart, what really, you know, sparkles you every morning. That's the kind of definition I like to use.
Mm. Thank you so much. This was a fantastic insight. So let me ask you, has anyone here in the group already explored what their purpose is, if that is what gets you up in the morning, apart from the alarm clock, maybe? Anyone who's explored something for themselves?
Well, I'll give it a go. And I gotta say, it wasn't necessarily easy because you think of all the things that you do that you enjoy, and really what does seem to be your purpose in life. So I guess, you know, for those who are now going to think about this, it's not necessarily such an easy task, but I guess what it should do is something should keep coming back to you naturally. And for me, what I think it is connecting people. And I really believe that it's over the years, it's something that I've really enjoyed, meeting people, but also initiating connections, being the catalyst to, you know, introduce other people. I've done it all my life personally. And even if it's just, you know, keeping in touch with people, sending Christmas cards or birthday cards or shooting the occasional note, I think that's my main thing. And I really believe that connections are important. Well, certainly it's important for me. There's a lot of great people in the world. When I think about it, I do it personally, but I also do it for work. And I think a lot of people who know me in business as well would also say, you know, that I've got a great network of connections. And it's something that just gives me a lot of pleasure. You know, I meet people, I think, these people will get on, or there'll be potentially some possible partnerships or whatever in the future, whatever it may be. So I think I'm the connector.
I would agree with that, Martin. And if I could also share an experience, a few years ago, I reached a crossroads in not only in my career, but in my life as well. And I took that as an opportunity to really go inside and ask myself, what is the highest I could be? And what is my purpose? And I've always believed in destiny and fate, but I realized it wasn't quite enough. It kind of needed an engine around it. So I did go through the process, and it was quite enlightening. And I do encourage, you to go on this journey, because it can be transformational. And when you do realize and find your purpose, it just really adds a lot more value, I believe, to your life and to your journey.
Thank you for these insights. Interesting, you both mentioned that there is a connection between what you've defined as your personal purpose, and you made a connection to your professional life at some point. And I'd like to pick up on this and get some more insights around discovering what your purpose is, and then actually bringing that to life in your professional life. And that's a question I'd like to ask Alex, maybe to share some thoughts on this connection between personal purpose and professional execution of that.
Yeah, literally, I think I found my purpose when I was around 10 years, with a Christmas present actually was the seed of all what I'm doing right now. And my entire life, so my school, why I went to school and why I went to higher school and why I went to university was all focusing to this single purpose, literally, or to this single idea. It changed over the years because it's a technology purpose, and technology changed over the years, and that's why it's slightly adopted, but the core of that was always the same. And even though I worked for other companies, it brought me to where I am right now. And running my own business is actually what helps me best to work on my purpose and to focus on my purpose. Because when I get up, for us, we don't, in my colleagues and myself, we always say, like, we're not really working. So when we get up in the morning, it's more sort of an adventure that we take throughout the day and doing the things we love. Of course, there's stuff that you don't like and you don't really want to do, and you hate doing these things. And but what I found is the best for myself was to get somebody else to do these things then. So for the things I didn't like to do and that were not following my purpose, I was really getting other people to do those things because that was their purpose. And so literally it came together to build up great teams as well, because you can share your things. Everybody's supporting everybody else, and everybody's working on the things they really love to do. So, and that's what.
Yeah. And if I may add on this, because it's a very important question, and starting with Martin and Alison, and now what Alexander says is there is always a link between personal and professional purpose. The link is because we cannot have two purposes. We have only one purpose in life. What happens when it comes to work is, as Alex is sharing, we might temporarily pick up on certain tasks that they might not be our purpose 100%. So for example, in the case of Martin, if his purpose is connecting people, it might be that at times, and I'm sure many times, you need to sit down and do some research or do a report. That might not be 100% your purpose. However, it contributes towards your purpose, because your purpose is something very internal. You cannot take it away. You cannot change it. You know, over the time, yes, you can shape it, but you know, as Alex was saying, the core of it is always there. The purpose is something that you can not hide somehow. So you will always, and if you look back at sometimes, you will always look at yourself and you will find yourself spending more time on those tasks that their purpose related to you, that those other tasks that contributes to it, but they are not 100% related to your purpose. And it's true, we are only one person and we have one purpose inside or outside of the task that we do.
I think maybe
Thank you. Sorry, Alex, please.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe it's like a seed. You know, you grow up like a tree, and the tree is always the same, but it gets shaped by the environment, by the surrounding, but it still stays the same tree all over its time. Yeah.
So some people say, so let me pick up on what the two of you just said. Some people say that because you have only one purpose, or you're one tree, that a purpose is something that can anchor you, something that is a North Star for anything that you do, and that it could be extremely helpful in disruptive times to have some sort of an anchor. And I'd like to ask if you have experienced this being the case, that you find benefit and value in having this anchor or having this North Star that sort of guides you in more disruptive or changing times. Renee, do you want to maybe share some thoughts on this?
It's a good question. I mean, purpose is very, very personal, and I think if you are really found it and have found your purpose, if you really discovered that and have maybe anchored that into your life, into your daily life, I'm pretty sure it can help you in critical times, because you will get back to your basics. I mean, we are in a crisis situation now, and I think to get through troubled times, to have something you can really rely on, and also maybe to enclose your environment, and this your family, your work environment is very important in that case, because you can go back to those basics, to that anchor, to that North Star, as you call it, and rely on that and develop, get back to it and develop any traits from there. Because I mean, at the moment we are probably lacking orientation. A lot of people are lacking orientation, where to go next, what to do now, where to, whatever, it's personal, it maybe commercial, but where to go next. And then I think it helps to go back to that North Star and really concentrate on what your anchors in life, and from there make the next step, make the next move.
Thank you. I think all of you shared so many positive values and benefits of having one. So I'd like to move the discussion towards, how do I find it if I haven't explored it for myself? So my next question would be, how did you explore what your purpose was? If you hadn't sort of felt you already had it, did you intentionally look for it now or recently or in recent years? Anyone who would like to share their experiences on how they did this?
I can share with you why. Early in my career, I took jobs because I liked the idea of it and the money was looking good, so I followed that. And then I soon realized, particularly in management companies, had focused on certain elements and certain values and cultures that didn't marry up to myself. And I was spending a lot of time at work and found myself being drained, because I was working with people and doing things that didn't sit well with my soul, is probably the best way of putting it. And then I decided I needed to sit down and write down, what gifts did I have of my own that I could give and share with people. And with those, and also that would help me become the best person that I could be as Michael. So that was sort of really the process that I went to. And from that, that enabled me to decide what companies I wanted to work with, because the first thing, and even now I do, is I look at the company's values, what they say they're doing, and actually whether they're actually living them, because it's important that also the purpose is being lived and the values marry up to yourself. So that's how I went about it. It was so that I could spend more time being happy than being drained of energy. So that was my way.
Thank you,
And
Mike.
to add to this point, I think Michael it's a very important point, and it also relates to what Renee was saying. Our purpose is the North Star, is our inner compass, is what really set us the pace. And as Michael says, sometimes we compromise our purpose temporarily because there is a nice job title or a nice salary, or because we have a particular need at that time. But a good way to find it, Catherine, going to your initial question, because sometimes it's not easy to, if I don't know my purpose, might not be so easy to find it. But we can go the other way. We can say, instead of knowing what is my purpose, I can identify easy what is not, or where I'm not feeling happy, or what stresses me out, or what Michael was saying, what drains me. So in these things, we could also identify what are the things that we don't enjoy. So if purpose is all about where my interests are, what really, lights me up, what sparks me, what purpose is not, when I feel tired, moody, when a person that I don't want to see, a task that I don't want to do. So another way of identifying it is, okay, what are the things I do not enjoy? And it's not only about work, as you guys mentioned, it could be, purpose is in everything we do, it's just not work related.
And that could be a pretty big list.
I'm sure.
But I also think when you go through a process like you're explaining, it's almost like it's a light bulb moment where you realize that, yes, this is why I do what I do, whether that is professionally or personally, and this is what gives me the greatest satisfaction. And I think once you identify that, you can then bring in the follow your passion around it, or follow your bliss to that subject. But it does come to you quite naturally through you're sensing what gets the best out of you. And for example, my purpose is as much as a professional purpose as a personal purpose. And so how that is of value to me is, if I'm making decisions or evaluating certain situations, I always ask, does this speak truth to my purpose? And so you become a lot more efficient, and life is short, right? So we want to make the right decisions moving forward. So it's a really valuable exercise for those potentially feeling a little bit lost as a result of the current situation.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
No, it's just, I was just thinking that, Michael was giving a very good advice there. Is the more you concentrate on yourself, and the more you look at yourself and your inside, and you try to improve yourself from a human being perspective, the closer you will always be to your purpose, and the closer to your purpose, then the easier to fit in any job. Because we need to look at that fit. For example, let's say Martin's purpose is connecting people. Now, let's say he is a server, in a restaurant. He can still fulfill his purpose by being a server. The task will not deviate him from his purpose. And that's why it's so important to really look deep inside on ourselves, be very peaceful with ourselves. And once we are clear with who we are as a person, with what is our inner purpose, then we can fit in any different type of job. Going back, to Alison and this particular moment in which we are all a bit lost. Perhaps we're all in, kind of in a situation where we need to transition jobs or do temporarily jobs. So I think the best way to come back to our purpose is to look at ourselves, to be happy with who we are as persons, and then try to fit in the job.
Mm. And quite likely it is also that you come across more authentic if you are really yourself and following your purpose than trying to be or do something that is not you. I think we can do that to a certain level or to a certain extent if we have to, and it's a good thing to be so adaptable. But I think authenticity is quite valuable to have, and if you follow your purpose, it's quite likely that you are.
I think this whole situation just now reaffirmed why I'm very sure about mine as well, because what did people want to do over the last year was to get connected again, right? And be connected. And it was really interesting how many people actually reached out to me. And it was maybe unusual because they didn't do it a lot. But when I reached out to somebody else, it was quite normal, but I think appreciated and nice when, you know, we started organizing different groups for Zoom so we could see each other. And I know there was a lot of appreciation in that. So it just reaffirmed mine. Yeah, I liked it.
Well
And
done.
it's not much that you need to do, you know, when
Yeah.
it's your purpose and things
That's right,
come
sure.
to you.
Yeah.
Now, if some of our listeners are thinking, okay, I haven't explored my purpose, and I hear what these people are saying, and it sounds very sensible, I want one too. Could we give some very, let's say, specific advice how to actually define that as a starting point in a very, let's say, pragmatic way?
In a very pragmatic way, if we want to make it easy, and let's not talk about jobs because maybe it's not about job, but the easiest way is to look back to your childhood years and to look back where your interests were around. You know, was given, I'm sorry, not Rene, Alexander was giving us an example about, you know, he found his purpose when he was 10 on a Christmas gift, you know, like what are the different things that when we were kids, where were our interests? Because when we were kids, we were our original version of who we are as person, and that's where we could find out. This is one of the things. And then another thing which is easier also is once we become adults, once we are alone, when we are not working or having our hobbies or with our families, once we are alone, what are our interests? Like, for example, okay, we open the browser in the computer. What are the things that we browse? Or we switch on the TV, which kind of programs do we have? Or we look at series, what type of series are we interested on? So try to look for your personal interest rather than, oh, I want to be the manager. I always wanted to be a manager. That will be my personal advice. Don't overcomplicate it. Go back to your roots. At the end, we are this tree that is rooted, no?
Yeah.
So the fact that I going to parties and meeting people and that sort of thing, I should feel good about that, right? So
Absolutely.
I love these
Enjoy
tips.
you.
I love these tips because it really maybe boils down to starting with a simple list of what gives me joy, and, you know, thinking back, like you said. I love this, not to overcomplicate, but really, yeah, thinking back of what interests you, but also what gives you joy, what made you feel well, which part of your career or which job you felt was really rewarding, and why was it rewarding? And I love these tips. It's brilliant. One last topic. Sorry.
I was suggesting the other day also, in addition to, you know, looking at which tasks, or if we want to look at jobs, which tasks you enjoy doing, which jobs have you been successful. Also, you can think of where or why were you recognized? When did you receive any congratulations? Was it from a customer? Was it from your boss? Was it from your colleagues? What were you doing at that time? You know, what are the things that other people sees in you that sometimes you cannot see yourself? That could be also your purpose.
Yeah, no. Yeah, true. And Catherine, I also have to say what Gisela mentioned earlier. Actually, it was easier for me to think of things that I didn't like than I did like, actually, initially. And it wasn't until I really knew what I didn't like, as in, you know, what I was saying, anti-energy draining for me, then I was able to put a list of things that I knew were not worth my while focusing on. And then from that, I looked at what I could be interested in or what I felt right to me. So I think doing a positive and a negative list is good to do.
Great.
So I'll get your negatives and you can have mine, okay?
Thank you very much. That worked.
My final question actually on this topic was, was because you said you personal purpose and professional purpose, and there should be a correspondence or an alignment, and why that is important. I just like to hear, especially because Gisela has mentioned that she has worked with companies to help them become purpose driven. But I want to understand, why do you think it is important that there's some sort of alignment between what you do professionally and what you feel your personal purpose is? Why there needs to be, or not needs to be, why is it good that there's an alignment there?
Yeah, and this is a very trendy topic, and more now companies are clearly defining their purpose, which is what is their reason of being, if we go back to that. Once a company has clear what is their reason of being, and Michael typed on this, talking about the values that they can allocate to this why or this purpose that they have, then with this clarity in mind, a company could also bring employees that they are aligned with the same purpose. So from a company perspective, the company will feel, clear and attracts employees that add value and they are contributors to that purpose. Now, on a personal side, if I am an employee, I will also feel very much aligned with the company, because I'm not only working, but as I work, I also fulfill my purpose. So in a way, and I have worked in several companies that they're like this, it never feels like a job, because all of the discussions, all of the topics, the way of work is all so driven by the purpose that it's very clear. So there typically, this happens more and more in startup companies. So typically, there is no politics, everyone has the same, let's call it objective. So if you find a team pulling everywhere, so we create also team-driven companies. It's not about the objective that I need to achieve at the end of the year, or it's not the mission that is so far, but when there is a clear purpose, everyone and everything seems really like seamless, both in the relationships and also on the productivity. So also companies become much more productive. Employees feel a lot less stress because they don't need to deviate from their purpose. And it's a real pleasure, actually. It doesn't seem, oh, I'm obliged to work for my salary.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Gisela. And I have to say, these 20 minutes flew by. Obviously, this topic is so rich and so deep that it should go way beyond the 20 minutes. So, but we ran out of time, but we would like to offer our listeners and viewers, if you would like to hear more about this topic and maybe get some additional tips or tricks on how to define your personal purpose or how to use it, what it means, etc., do let us know in the comments, and then we can see if we can arrange something in addition. And so with closing, I'd like to again wish us all a very happy new year, much strength and positivity to face whatever we are faced with in this year. And thanks to all the panelists who shared their personal experience around purpose. And thank you again for tuning in, and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. But before, just a final two seconds. I came across a quote that I'd just like to share with everybody. And it's from Mark Twain. And it's the two most important days of your life. One, the day you were born, and the second is when you find out why you were born.
Love it. Nothing to add to this. Perfect.